Hello, I am Anawultus, and here today I'm going to be taking an exaggerated review of this article from the Huffington Post. You know, I could have done for something political, something more down my alley, but I decided that no serious review today. Today we're just going to review this article that came out regarding the recent hurricane. Now, I might just say that if you hear something strange in the background, that's probably my geriatric dog going senile. And it is now beginning to bark, maybe? I don't know. But maybe it's a nice background sound, some nice rap. Now, I might not have all the time I need to finish the article. I'll just keep going until I have to stop. But as we all know about hurricanes, just keep your glasses on and nothing will be wrong. So let's get right into the news. So this is, of course, an article related to parenting on the Huffington Post, a very popular subject. See, if I mouse over it, my mouse indicator turns into a different thing, which indicates that there is indeed an entire category dedicated to parenting. And this article came down on September 14th, 2018. That's 3 days after 9/11. Don't know why I needed to say that, but I don't know. Maybe it's a spicy meme out there. 5:35 post-meridian Eastern time zone, updated 4 days ago from the day that I'm looking at the article. So it's not a fresh meme, but it certainly is something to look at nevertheless. Here are some age-appropriate ways to discuss these traumatic events, how to talk to your kids about natural disasters. I don't know. I don't know what would be highly age inappropriate to discuss. I mean, unless you're really talking about some weird stuff. I don't know if you've ever lived through a hurricane, but nothing age inappropriate has ever happened to me during a major storm. I don't know. But anyway, this article is by Caroline Bologna. Some may choose to say Bologna, but I choose to say Bologna because I have had an Italian education and I know how to say words correctly. So that's what I'm going with. By the way, Caroline, if that's not how you pronounce your name, please do tell me. By the way, all the people listening to me now, please do not harass the writers at the Huffington Post. They're doing a hard job putting out all these articles. Even if you disagree with them, at least show some respect. All right, NASA and Reuters. So I guess it's a NASA image that they pinched off of Reuters. So I guess things come around. It's sort of like how a lot of news people get their stories from the Associated Press. It's a bit like that, I'd think. Hurricane Florence. Oh, so getting back to the Italians, some little Firenze is seen off the east coast of the United States on September 13th, 2018. And look at that. That's pretty big. And interestingly, I can actually... Is that the coast outline of... That's interesting. That I can still see that. Interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, nice little storm here. It's probably bigger out there, but it's certainly rammed into there, and a lot of people died. So do show some respect if we ever get to talking about that. From hurricanes and tornadoes to earthquakes, mudslides, and extreme blizzards and flooding. Don't forget about sinkholes, man. Where's the Florida love? Families around the world have faced the trauma of natural disasters. As Hurricane Florence batters the Carolinas, parents living in and outside the storm's path are facing questions about it from their children. HuffPost! Come on, show some self-respect. Use the full name, Huffington Post. Come on. That's not a criticism, that's just a little exhortation. Spoke to experts in child and adolescent psychiatry about the best ways to talk to kids about natural disasters. I mean, what? Just be a normal person, perhaps, is probably the best way, but I don't know. Maybe there is some deeper down know-how that I don't know. Maybe there's some some deep mind games going on here. Perhaps we're going to see some three-dimensional chess, but let's see. Here are 10 things to keep in mind when discussing natural disasters with children at different developmental stages. Sorry, not ages. Although technically speaking, you could say that's the same thing. A developmental age, not necessarily physical age, but I guess you age developmentally. Maybe that's not the best term to use. While the advice is geared towards families directly affected by a particular disaster, many of these guidelines can apply to children outside the disaster zone, as well as those who have faced disasters in the past and may be feeling triggered by the latest news. Wait a second. Children getting triggered? Come on, what is this? What is it triggering? They don't have PTSD. I mean, maybe if you've had a really bad storm and you saw a lot of people dead on the streets after a big storm, maybe then you've got PTSD. But getting triggered by the latest news? Come on. At least show some respect for your children. Children can understand a lot more than people a lot of the times give them credit for. I know that because I spend a lot of time around children, and for those of you who are wondering if that sounds really weird, it does kind of sound weird. I do martial arts, okay, and a lot of children do martial arts, so I end up working out with children around me, and I teach them and I help them, and then they get scared of me when we end up in a fight because I'm a lot larger and stronger than they are, and they know that they can't beat me. But you know what? It's good practice because fighting difficult opponents is always something that's never really that fun to do, but it's always great practice. I can tell from experience. Because I used to be a kid and fighting some big adults, and you know what? It was hard. It was hard, but I stuck through it, and now I am one of the best fighters there. But let's get back on track. Let's not talk too much about me. Kids do best if their parents are calm and measured. Jean Barrison, Harvard Medical School psychiatry professor and executive director of the Clay Center for Young Healthy Minds, hyperlink, at Massachusetts General Hospital. Wow, it really gets around, this guy. Told HuffPost, anxiety is contagious, and when parents are fearful or bent out of shape, kids of all ages are going to pick up on that. And you know what? He's right. If you're not being a confident parent, then it's going to affect your children. Just like hearing the dog here, if you're very anxious around your dog, your emotional state can be interpreted by the dog, and the dog might react to that. So there you go. People and animals, even around you, can react to your emotional state. So therefore, there's actually, in essence, when you are a leader, you have a responsibility to remain calm or to remain confident. So that responsibility is a responsibility not only necessarily to make a strong front, but to perhaps have a good degree of self-control so that you can put yourself into the state of confidence. So if you are unable to be confident, then in essence you are losing a little bit with that. So therefore, what I'm trying to say here is self-control is very important so that you can then control your emotional state, not only externally, but also internally, so that you can calm down and have a level head on your shoulders and can make good decisions. Maybe that's some good life advice to everyone out there. Barrison recommends parents follow the principle of an airplane oxygen mask. Secure your own mask before attending to the child next to you. And you know what? Good idea. In times of natural disasters, parents should first calm themselves down, perhaps by talking to a partner or a friend. All right. Yeah, that can help if you don't have the determination to just pull it off on your own. And I know not everybody has that strong degree of self-control where you can just switch on your confidence like that. Not everybody can do that. So sometimes you need a little help, and that's understandable, before trying to reassure their children. This will set a better tone for the conversation and allow them to focus on providing safety in a time of chaos. And you know what else this does? This allows you to lead by example, because then when you're calmed down, you can, since you are then experienced in calming down, you can then talk to your children and teach them how to calm down. And that's great. And that's just a quote, because they don't actually expect people to read the whole article. Unfortunately, that's how a lot of people read articles. They just they read the title, they read the big quotes, and they look at the pictures. That's how most people read articles, and that's statistically proven, unfortunately. But anyway, with younger kids, parents should ask... oops, oh snap, this dog is tripping me up. Even though I'm wearing headphones, I can still hear the dog, and it's really tripping me up. With younger kids, parents should also be mindful of the conversations they're having in their children's presence. Little kids have big ears, and if the parents are talking about roofs blowing off or trees smashing into houses, they hear that stuff and worry about it. Barrison said, well, here's my little idea. If you, as an adult, are capable of knowing about these things and not worrying about it, then you can also teach your kids to know about these things and not worry about it. Because you know what? Back in the day, people nowadays, a lot of people are afraid to expose their children to the concept of death too early in their lives, or the concept of major damage. And you know what? In many generations past, before people had as good healthcare as they do nowadays in most countries anyway, a very large proportion of children that were born died very early in their lives, which means that if you were, let's say, growing up in the Middle Ages or in antiquity, there's a very good chance that as a young child, you may have had a sibling or perhaps a childhood friend die. And therefore, you would be well familiar with the concept of death. And you know what? Looking at history, I don't think that's ever really been a problem. In essence, it's not really a problem for children to be familiar with the idea of death. And that's just my opinion. Historically, looking at it, I don't think it's been a problem. So I don't really think that it should be a problem nowadays. It just really depends on how you socialize your children. If you coddle them too much, then it might be a problem. Because life isn't about feeling good, okay? So you shouldn't really shelter your children from all of the negative realities in the world. In that you should actually instruct your children and make them aware of these things, so that when they encounter dangerous situations or scary situations, they will be equipped to handle them. And they won't have a problem as adults or as teenagers where they can't handle the trouble in a situation. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh. Limit media exposure. Similarly, it's best to be mindful of what kids are picking up from media. And you know what? That's right. There's a lot of weird stuff on media. So as a parent, you probably would be very responsible if you actually knew what your children engaged in on the media. And I know a lot of kids don't like that. Oh, they don't like, my mom's in my room. She's asking, oh, Sonny boy, what video games are you playing? I'm playing Fortnite. Get out of my room. That's how a lot of kids are. And you know what? Just have some respect for your parents, okay? They are trying. If your parents care about the games you're playing, it probably means that your parents care about you and that they love you and that they probably want to cultivate you into a successful or a well-adjusted adult. And of course, that's not always true. In some instances, there are bad parents. Not gonna lie, there are parents who maybe coddle their children too much. There are parents who are neglectful. There are parents who abuse their children. But most of the time, if your parents care about what media you're exposing to yourself, then it probably means they care about you. Just saying. Your parents love you. Most of them. I don't know about everyone, so I can't really put a blanket statement, as much as some people really do love to make blanket statements such as that. Under these circumstances, adults and older kids have a tendency to stay glued to the TV or radio. And you know what? That makes sense, because you want to know, how close is the storm? Is there a change in situation? Are we adequately prepared for what's going on? All that stuff. Stephen Berkowitz, co-chair of Disaster and Trauma Issues of the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, told HuffPost. But that's not helpful for young kids because they don't understand everything. And you know what? That's fine. That's fine. But at least they may get a bit of an idea of how serious the situation is. Because you don't want your kid to be unprepared for a serious situation, because then your kid's just playing around and something bad happens and your kid's just completely caught off guard and gets hit in the face by a piece of debris, a lot of trauma, mental and physical, and scarred for life. There you go. So have your children be prepared. That's just what I'm thinking. Turning off the TV can help keep their worries at bay. Older kids and teenagers have steady access to information as they engage with social media. But Barrison suggested that parents watch the news with their adolescents so they can answer questions and talk to them about what's happening. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Teach your children. Very good. But again, you know, I'm an adult. Just to emphasize that once more, I don't use social media that much. And I'm not saying that's because I'm an adult. Because most adults my age probably tweet all the time. Now, I do have a Twitter. I use it mostly for business. By business, I mean I have it automatically post my latest videos. And I don't really do that much else with my Twitter, to be honest. So Twitter, probably not the best place to reach me. I don't check that every day. I don't check that even every week. I may check it maybe once every month or two. But there you go. So anyway, I think that's all I have time for today. So thank you all for watching, and I will be seeing you all next time. Tell me, do you agree with my opinions? Do you disagree? I really have to deal with a dog right now. So, dog is actually going senile. Just not gonna lie. So, thank you all for watching, and I'll be seeing you all next time. If you want to co-host with me, if you want to read a spicy article, you can bring your own article. As long as it's not smut, I'm okay with it. I will be seeing you all next time, and I will toss over and out.